Okay, so we're going to start in standing. So coming up to standing, wherever you want to be on your mat, actually, because we're going to come down to it afterwards, so it doesn't really matter. Now you're going to do just squat down until you can get your hands to the floor. So however much bend in your knee you need to get your hands to the floor. Feet about shoulder distance or slightly wider apart. And we're just going to walk the hands out until you feel the heels kind of just come up slightly. So I suppose it's a little bit like a down dog, but I'm not overly worried about what your pelvis is doing. It's more a case of just find the hamstring stretch. So once you get your hands walked out and you're in this sort of A shape, lift your tailbone up so that you feel a little bit of a stretch in the hamstrings and perhaps the calves. And then we're just going to walk the feet. So you're going to press one heel down as the opposite leg bends, press the opposite heel down, straighten the leg as the other knee bends. So just call it pedaling the feet or walking the feet. So finding the hamstring and calf stretch. Mine's more in the calf today. So just gently pedaling the feet to start with, just lengthening the muscles down the back of the legs, nice and gently though, given that it's the first thing we're doing. And then from there, for exactly where you are, bend the knees so that you, maybe your shins are almost parallel to the floor to start with. And then you're going to press the head through the arms. So it's a shoulder stretch, so nice and gently. So I'm pushing the floor away from me and also forward. So I'm taking my head as far as I can between my shoulders and then releasing. So I'm pushing my hands that way towards the edge of my mat and taking my head as far as I can through my shoulders and releasing back forward. And again, pushing back as far as you can and releasing through. Couple more. Last one. And you're going to walk the hands back. Keep the slight bend in the knee. And you're going to take your hands and clasp your hands behind your calves. So I'm getting hold behind my calves. So what this is going to do is going to keep you sort of locked in place, keep your chest on your thighs almost, and you're going to try and straighten the legs. So bending and straightening. And they might get straight, they might not, depends how bendy you are. So just a gentle hamstring stretch again. Last couple. Last one. And release, and then just make your way all the way down to the mat. And we come into our windscreen wipers. So taking the legs out in front of you, knees bent. You can kickstand the hands behind you and just let the legs drop to either side. I say drop, it's more of a controlled movement. But rotating the hips side to side. Last couple there. And release, and then come into a 90-90 as best as you can. So same as yesterday, we're trying to get our chest forward over our front shin. So again, you can tent the fingers and lean forward. Again, keeping the chest nice and high. Nice and gentle. Last one on that side. And release, and then we'll switch sides. So same thing, chest coming forward. And you'll notice if you've got one side that's slightly stiffer than the other one. The last couple. And last one. And then we're going to take it out into a straddle stretch. So we kind of did a little bit of this yesterday. All we were doing yesterday was gently, or was it yesterday? It might not have even been yesterday. Was gently rocking it forwards and back. This time, you want to focus on keeping the legs as wide as you can. So it's a variation on the 90-90 stretch. So you're going to bend the knees slightly, and like the windscreen wipers, one leg comes in, one leg goes out. Yeah. Now, when you come back, you want to come back to that straddle stretch. So as you bring the knees back, you're going to have to push the legs back out to that straddle stretch. Yeah. So I've come back to wide. Same thing, the legs bend slightly so that you can twist them, but you want to keep them as long as you can this time. Yeah. So it's just a wider 90-90, that's all. And as the legs come back, you push them wide again. Yes, they're going out into that straddle stretch. So again, slight bend. One knee in, one knee out. Push back out to your straddle stretch. Slight bend, one knee in, one knee out. And you can see your whole body's having to go. If it's a little bit difficult, you could bring the hands down, kind of kickstand, and that will give you a little bit more freedom to move. If you can, keep your hands off the floor as you work from side to side. And then just start to let it flow a little bit. So stretch and reach the legs away, and then bend and straight over to the other side. Straighten the legs back out to your straddle stretch, and then bend and in. And you could play, you could bring the legs closer and see how that feels then to go back out to that straddle stretch. Bring the legs closer in and back out to the straddle stretch, so more movement, or keep them wide, because not often, we've not done an awful lot with this kind of wide position with the legs. Just a couple more. And release, and then we're going to work through our hamstring glute bridges. So coming down just into a normal, what's a normal bridge? Your basic bridge. Let's go with basic bridge. So heels comfortably close to your bottom. The whole foot is flat to the floor, but the focus is very much on the heels, and flatten the lower back, lift the hips up, and check in. There should be plenty of space between your chest and your chin. One long line, shoulders, hips, knees, and trying to open the front of the hip. So you should feel this sense of opening at the front of the hip, and holding there. And then what we're going to do, your feet aren't going to move, but to hit the hamstrings, we'll have a sensation of pulling the feet back towards your bottom. So keep the hips where they are, pull your feet back to your bottom, and you should immediately feel your hamstrings engage. You're going to hold. We're going to hold for 10. So keep pulling the heels back towards your bottom. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. And release that movement and lower the hips. And if you need to, lengthen the legs up to the sky, give it a little walk, just to lengthen off the hamstrings. So we're going to do that in 3 different positions, walking the legs out. Everybody's hamstrings okay? I'm guessing that everybody's doing the walking, so I'm guessing that they must have been a little bit nippy. So this time, so you were here, heels come to be close to the bottom, go a little bit further out. Same thing again, flatten the lower back, lift the hips, and then you're going to pull the heels back towards your bottom, and you should feel that sense of almost being pulled towards your own heels. I'm going to hold for 10. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. You want to feel the hamstrings as long as they're not cramping. Breathe as best you can. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. And release and lower the hips. And again, if you need to, just lengthen the hamstrings, take the feet up to the sky, give them a little bit of a walk and a wiggle and a jiggle. And then come back down. And then as far out as you could go without actually straightening your legs. And this time your heels will be on the floor and your toes will be up, because there isn't really any other way to do it. Same thing, flatten the lower back, lift the hips, and then pull the heels back towards your butt. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Glutes are squeezing, heels are pulling, hamstrings are screaming. You hold, hold, hold. And then slowly release back down, and again, stretch the legs up to the sky, give them a little wiggle and a wobble, whatever kind of feels like you need. and then release back down. So this time we're going to do the walkout. So that was kind of the warm up. All right. So you're going to take the hips up. So bring the heels back close to your bum, lift the hips up. And then this time I'm going to start to walk out. So little baby steps, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And when you'll know when you get there, you have to start coming onto the heels and up with the toes, but keep the hips lifted, glute working from side to side, walk the legs out as far as you can, and then walk back. Teeny tiny steps, keep lifting the hips, keep lifting the hips. As you come back, you'll find a point where you can get your foot flat again, and you're back. And then we're going to walk out again. Teeny tiny steps, left, right. As the heels come down, the toes come up. Keep squeezing the glutes, keep lifting the hips as far as you can go, all the way out, nearly touching the floor, and then start to walk back. Left, right, left, right. Foot comes flat. One last time, walk it away. All the way out, all the way out. Keep squeezing the glutes, lift the hips, keep walking, and then walk back in. Teeny tiny steps, no rush. When you're all the way back in, lower the hips and breathe a sigh of relief. And then turning over. Okay, now then. Come into a plank. So starting all fours, fat-free plank, pivot over the toes on one side, pivot over the toes on the other. And they're going to step forward. So right foot comes to the outside of the right hand, however it needs to get there. And then once we're there, sink the hips slightly. So it's a prying action. It's like you're trying to squeeze some juice out of the hip. So I'm going to roll my foot and my knees coming out to the side. I hope you can see that. It's not very clear on that screen, is it? But I'm rolling the foot so the knee comes out to the side. And as I do that, I'm kind of sinking the hips down. So trying to wring as much movement out of that hip as I can. You can put your back knee down. If you started to, if you're tired in that position, you can put your back knee down. It's up to you, keep it up or put it down. And then keep the foot flat to the floor, make little circles with the hips or your pelvis. So instead of the movement coming from the knee going out to the side, you get a little bit of movement at the knee and the foot because the hips are circling, and then circle the other way. If your knee is down, pick it back up and then take the foot back to the plank. And then we switch sides, bring the left foot outside the left hand, sink the hips down, and then same again. I'm pushing, rolling the foot, left foot, rolling it out to the side, and the knee is going with it. Again, if you need to, feel free to put the back knee down. It focuses on the front hip. So, and then same again, little circles with your bottom, your whole pelvis and hip complex, and then reverse circle the other way. And release, and then take the foot back, and then just come down out of your plank and just come off your wrist for a moment. Give them a wiggle if you need to. All right, so we're going back to that position. We're going to work on some rotation there, sort of adding in everything we've been working on this week. So same thing, start with your fat-free plank, bend, straighten one leg, and then straighten the other, and then bring right foot outside right hand. So we've been working on this twisting and opening kind of idea, yeah? This time, the hand is going to go forward first, and then it's going to circle up and around. So as I lift the arm up to the sky, I'm opening the chest. So it's a big rotation. The hand's going to come all the way around, and it's going to come palm up on your lower back. And then you're going to open even more to the sky, try to get both both. Yeah, well, I was going to go with nipples. Let's go with nipples. Always revert to nipples. Nipples to the sky. Don't ask me why. And then you're going to bring the hand down and you want to drop your elbow inside your foot. Now, it might get down, it might not. You're going as far down as you can, trying to get the elbow down on the mat. And then we go again. So the arm sweeps forward. It goes up and around. You open the chest to the ceiling. The hand goes behind the back just briefly. We're going to twist. And then we're going to drop the elbow inside the foot. We're going to go one last time. Forward, up, open and around, behind the back, twist and open even more. And then drop the elbow and release. Hand comes down, foot comes back to plank, come back to all fours, and you get a brief reprieve before we do the other side. It's quite a lot to hold it up there, especially for 3 reps. So have a moment. Oh, take a breath. And then we come back to all fours. We straighten one foot, one leg, not just the foot, and the other. And then we're going to step forward, left foot, outside left hand. Same again, once it's there, we're going to reach the arm forward. And as it comes up and overhead, we're going to twist and open the body to the sky. The hand comes down behind the back just briefly. You use that position to help you twist and open a little bit further. And then we drop the elbow to the mat. And you notice on one side, 6 inches away. You get the elbow down on one side, this side, that left side. And we go again, arm forward, open all the way out, hand behind the back, open a little bit more, and then drop the elbow on the inside. One last time, reach, open, twist, and then drop the elbow on the inside. Step back to your plank, bend one knee, then the other, and come off your wrists for a moment, give them a wiggle. Okay, we've got one more from the plank position into a push-up, child's pose, etc. I'll talk you through it. We're just combining movements that we've already done, so it's not so bad. Fat-free plank, yes. Straighten one leg and then the other. So just as we've been working on this slow and controlled movement of the chest down to the floor, keeping the elbows in, you are welcome to use your knees. Yeah, the most important thing is the control over this movement. So bend the elbows, keep them close to the ribs, lower the chest to the floor, keep your toes tucked where they are, push back into child's pose, widen the knees slightly. Now this is the tricky bit. So we're in a really long position here. Can you hover the knees? So you need to push the floor away with the hands to lift the knees up to come forward to plank again. Yeah, so it's going to be a circular movement. So we're going to lower the chest, push back to child's pose, widening the knees slightly, hover the knees, come forward to plank, lower the chest, push back into child's pose, hover the knees, come forward to plank, lower the chest, push back to child's pose. Now, if you're doing it with the knees down, all you need to do is when you get to your plank, put your knees down, lower the chest, and go again. Hover the knees, out to plank, lower the chest, child's pose. Hover the knees, out to plank, chest, child's pose. Got one more. And release. Oh, right. Chairs, if we have them. My chair appears to have been taken over. You're just always in the way, aren't you? Hey? Now then, how's that for you? So, some of you, you've probably already done this. I might be overthinking it. All it is a leg up lunge. But I'm conscious of the fact that if you haven't done it, it's very easy to do it wrong. Let's put it that way. Ooh, wrong. Don't like those words. Less than ideal, less than optimal for our bodies. So I'm going to hook. The trick is you need to be far enough away from whatever you're using for you to be able, you know how long we need to be to do a 90-90 lunge? It's very similar here. So it's a balance aspect to it. So you want the top of your foot on your chair. It's useful if you have a wall. The cat's going to bite me now. So you can see that this back leg is quite a distance behind me. Yeah, it's already behind me. So what I usually see with this is that same thing of coming forward, this action, instead of coming straight down. And to drop straight down in this position, you need to bend the back knee, and it's what everybody doesn't want to do. So the back knee has to bend and come back up. Otherwise, the same thing. The rules are the weight's in your heel at the front, or the focus is on the heel, I should say. Whole foot is pressing into the ground. You just have that sensation of pressing more into the heel, not seal, heel. So for me, this loads up the glute a lot more on the working side, obviously. But you do get that sense, a little bit of sense of opening and stretching at the quad on the other side. Let's go 2 more. And last one. And then release, and then switching sides. So again, it's just that little bit of balance required to find your position on the chair. So top of the foot on the chair, and then make sure you're standing upright. Mirabella, hey. Balance training. If you're not wobbling, it's not hard enough. All right, same again. So make sure you're bending that back leg. I could probably do, I'm looking at myself in the camera, and I could probably do with hopping forward a little bit, just to try and keep that front shin a little bit more vertical here. So I've still got that little bit of forward with the knee, which isn't, it's not a massive issue. Not that it's wrong per se, but the more vertical your shin is, I certainly feel more in the glute rather than just the quad. We'll go 3 more. 2 more. And last one. And then release out of that. And we're just going to switch sides. A couple more on each side. Hook your foot on. You're not making this easy for me, Sparrow. Bloody cat. Same thing. And switch sides when you're ready. I like these. One of my favorite exercises. Just need a chair of some description. Sofa's quite nice actually to do them too, because it's cushioned. And if you've got a cushioned chair, good. Mine's a metal chair. Last 2. Last one. Well done. Good. And release. So I'm just going to kick my mat out of the way just briefly. So we've been working on controlling our single leg deadlift. Yeah, this movement. And then we started to work towards the single leg deadlift and touching the floor. All right. We learn the movement forward and back, essentially. We've done some out to the side, some of this stuff. But essentially, we'd be doing forward and back. But the hip moves in lots of different ways. You've got all this range of movement. So what I want you to imagine is whichever way your feet are pointing as number 12, and then a clock face on the floor around you. So number 6 would be behind you, 3 out to the right, 9 out to the left. And all we're going to do is going to single leg deadlift. You're going to touch the numbers. You could pick any number. I'll call the numbers, so if you're having to think about it. But what you don't want to do is this. So if I'm reaching for number 12, I don't want a floppy number 12, number 2, whatever. Yeah, you've still got to find, first of all, that piece of steel from head to heel. So if I'm reaching for number 12, I'm loading, she says, loading up the hamstring, keeping my back as straight as I can, reaching for number 12. And depending on how much you want to work through the hip and the outside glute, so if we go for number 1, I'm now having to turn my body slightly, bend the knee a little bit more, and reach for number 1 and come back up. So you get the idea. If you need to put your foot down to balance you out, that's okay. But make sure you've got tension and you're the piece of steel from head to heel before you start. Try for number 2. With as much control as you can. And then aim for number 3, which is going to be right out here, which means I'm going to have to bend the knee and try and touch. So you're always touching with the opposite hand. Well done. Right, try the other side. So you see why we've just been going straight forward to start with, right? Because once you start reaching for numbers, your whole body kind of collapses. So as best you can, try not to collapse into it. So go for number 12, as far away as you want to. So number 12 here would be your straight leg deadlift. If you want to reach further away, you'd have to bend the knee slightly. So it's up to you. Coming back up. And then 11. Oh, these off to the side that are a struggle. Just work your way through the numbers. You don't need to wait for me. You know what you're doing. So you try for 10. And then for 9. And then if you want to switch sides, you can either keep working on one side and switch, or I'm kind of breaking it up because I'm already feeling it in the glutes. So saying this time I'm going to start by what we're trying to get to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. I'm going to see if I can get a little bit further around. And then working my way back through sort of 3, 2, and 1 and 12. And then I'm going to switch sides and do the same on the other side, sort of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, 8. 8 is eluding me. Let's try for 9. You're not helping, Kat. Aiming to try and reach a little bit further on that number 12. Just bending the front leg slightly. Flat back as I can. Reaching, reaching, reaching. And then pressing the floor away. Shake it out when you've done. And we're going to finish off with a quick pretzel just to round the morning off. So down you come. Top knee, bottom hand, bottom ankle, top hand. Pull the leg back behind you first. And then open to the side. You cold by any chance? The cat is still damp and he's trying to use me as a towel. Don't think I don't know what you're doing. You are stealing the show this week, Sparrow, you really are. If you can turn over, because you're not pinned to the floor by your cat, feel free. You're staying. Turning over, take, I can't get hold of my leg. Take the bottom leg behind you, open the chest out to the ceiling. It's a good job you don't want to watch me do this properly now, isn't it? It's a good job you know what you're doing. Breathe nice and easy away. On each out breath, see you can relax that top shoulder back down to the floor a little bit further. And then gently release. Well, I cannot believe it. Where have 2 weeks gone? That's 2 weeks already. That's like halfway through. It's weird. Where is the time going? Well done, chaps. How did you do? Was that all right? Was that kind of sticking? Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't too hard, wasn't too easy. It was just in the middle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you on Monday
Same.
morning. See you
Thank
later.
you. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.